As I said, as Carla introduced me, I'm a member of the research board. Next, please. And the research board on weather, climate, water, and the environment was created in June 2019 as part of the governance reform. And it translates the strategic aims of the World Meteorological Organization and decisions of the executive Council and Congress into research priorities, and also ensures that the research programs are implemented and coordinated. Next, please. So at the moment, we are working on 4 key relevant topics, which are advancing Earth system modeling and observations, exascale computing and data handling, and machine learning and artificial intelligence, science for services, and the last one, innovation in the regions, which is a topic I'm going to present to you. Next, please. So this work was carried out by the following working group that is led by Arlene Lane. And here we have the representatives of the different regional associations that compose the World Meteorological Organization. Next, please. So why to study the innovation in the regions? Here we have 2 main topics, which is to guide the research board and the regional associations for setting the priorities for research and development in the regional associations, to coordinate science projects at regional level, to identify possible partnerships or even funding agencies to further engage science with the weather services, and to inform the research board on the key areas to be advanced during the period 2020-2021, and how to organize science topics for the science sessions at the regional association meetings. Next. So for carrying out this concept note, we used information from a web-based survey, and that had 2 objectives: to know the current status of the research in the World Meteorological Association regions, and to identify the challenges to engage the national weather services in research. The input for these surveys was coming from the research board members, the staff from the National Weather Services, some researchers, and early career scientists network. Next, please. So this is how the survey looks like, the first page, in this case in Spanish, because it was applied to the Regional Association 3, South America, and we have the participation of 5 countries: Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Paraguay, and Suriname. Next, please. So the survey was composed by 5 questions. How can research in the academic community be made available to the National Weather Services in relation to climate services? Which organizations are at the country or regional level are active in research? So this was supposed that each person responding was answering in relation to her own country. What is the status quo for funding mechanisms or schemes? Can you provide examples of partnerships that your national weather services had developed to link research institutions, with research institutions in your country or region? And the last one, identify one pressing regional problem that needs further attention from the research board. Next, please. So in relation to the outcomes, where does research take place? We found that 2 different groups, the regions that have more advanced scientific capacity, research takes place either in universities, national labs, or through regional entities. In developing regions, research is not the focus for the National Weather Services because they are pressed for human and technical resources to support the operational activities. And some of them conduct research on high impact events or for development of products. Next, please. Research funding also depends on developed and developing countries. So in developed countries, this research funding is very well established through government-funded research, through agencies that fund research in academia, laboratories, and even the private sector can call for proposals. In developing regions, there is some countries don't even have government-funded mechanisms, and they rely mostly on international donor projects and the private sector, and it's limited, the contribution, and some academic institutions. Next, please. So in terms of the common research priorities that we found among multiple countries, multiple regions, we can highlight the 6 following, which are climate and climate variability and climate change. For example, the implementation of climate services for sectors like agriculture, transportation, energy, health, etc. Climate risk analysis, assessment of climate change extremes, among others. Then related to tropical cyclones, we identify the prediction of track and intensity, geographic and subseasonal variability, and modulation by climate change. In relation to impact-based forecasting, how to translate scientific information into evidence for decision-making purposes and for various audiences. In relation to this disaster risk reduction, we found that a systematic co-design approach might be interesting, involving social scientists to improve communication of risk. In the case of hydrology, 2 important issues, among others, are coastal inundation and coastal erosion. And the last one, aviation, we identified that is required scientific advance in observation and forecasting. Next, please. So the challenges that we identified in relation to research in developing countries are the following. We need financial mechanisms, since there is limited funding for research, as already commented. Most research journals are published in English, which is a limitation. Education, usually secondary and higher education systems, are not research oriented in comparison to developed countries. Data sharing might be an issue, since there are various barriers like institutional, management, legal, and policy issues. And usually national weather services lack norms and tradition of more collaborative and multidisciplinary research. Next, please. So in relation, particularly because we address these questions in the 6 regional associations that compose the WMO, but in relation to South America, which is the Regional Association number 3, I commented that we got the participation of 5 countries, or representatives of 5 countries. So in Argentina, it was highlighted that the WMO should standardize gray literature publications and encourage publication in regional journals, identify common research topics between the academia and the National Weather Services that needs funding, develop research connected to urban and health services, and apply also artificial intelligence to improve nowcasting on climate services. In Brazil, it was highlighted to coordinate networks between researchers in connection with National Weather Services and create regional projects with NOAA related to satellites. Ecuador, we got the contribution that the research on interactions between climate and health might be an asset. And Paraguay highlighted that training and education of personnel working at the National Weather Services is very important, and research funding for multi-collaborative projects to develop climate services. Next, please. And finally, the recommendations to improve the research and development within the National Weather Services in developed countries are to the following: highlight research benefits, also research engagement, for example, through regional international collaboration. Also, WMO can help by engaging with funding agencies to promote international and regional projects. We need also research collaboration within the country and between countries in the regional association number 3. For example, and research funding is also required, training and education, and I highlight this point since we are talking about building capacity. So, and this training and education, for example, requires increased training opportunities and hosting, like National Weather Services could host university students to create this link between these two usually separated areas, which is the academia and also the National Weather Services. And also we need to work on access to data and applications, publications. So next, please. This is my last slide, and I would like to thank you, all of you, for your attention, and I'm available for your questions.